Education Plus is an initiative focused on girls' education in Africa, particularly sub-Saharan Africa. And why? Because Africa is the region where girls are most at risk of getting infected with HIV. 5 in 6 new cases of HIV infection among adolescents in the age bracket of 15 and 19 are girls. 5 in 6. So for young people between 15 and 19, for every 6 new infections, 5 are girls. 4,500 girls in sub-Saharan Africa acquire HIV every week. If I had asked you, you might have said every year. But this is every week. 4,500 girls catch this virus, which has no cure, which they have to live with for the rest of their lives. AIDS and maternal mortality are the leading causes of death of adolescent girls in our region. AIDS and maternal mortality, dying while giving birth. So for many who are living with HIV, stigma, discrimination, and violence are daily realities. Africa is the region with the highest rates of child marriage and teenage pregnancy. And this COVID pandemic has made all of these horrible figures I've given you even worse. We know that even before COVID, there were 34 million girls not in school. Today, the school closures have put millions of girls out of school, many of whom may never return to school as governments struggle to recover their economies and put money in schools. At the same time, violence has peaked, domestic violence, and we are seeing teenage pregnancies also peaking. Those are also girls who may be newly infected with HIV and who will not return to school. So COVID has made worse an already existing huge problem of inequality between girls and boys at the low level of education, basic education. These things are not inevitable. This situation is not inevitable. It can change, and it has been changing. We need leadership, we need solidarity, we need partnerships to change it. So that is why, together with my colleagues and sisters in the United Nations, the head of UN Women, Pomzile, the head of UNFPA, Natalia, the head of UNICEF, Henrietta Fore, and the head of UNESCO, Audrey, we came together to convene a new initiative we call Education Plus. What is it about? It's a high level, I call it high level, but it goes right down to the ground. Everybody has a role in it, but it brings together governments to demonstrate leadership, to make commitments to roll out secondary education that is free for all children, because we can't pull girls and educate them and leave boys out. We need all kids in school to roll out universal secondary education over time, governments to commit and start planning and fulfilling it. It brings together financial institutions and donor countries to support the leadership of African governments. It brings together girls' movements, women's movements, human rights movements, all those who care about the human rights of girls and the right to equal opportunity, to be the drivers, led by girls such as Laurence and Jennifer, to lead the drive, the demand, and the movement towards achieving universal secondary education. So this should result in more investments, a prioritization of free secondary education, So investments in that are smart, that put quality in the secondary school for all girls and boys. And why do we say plus? Plus because it is important for a girl to be in a school space because it is safe. They are protected from violence, from sex they don't want, from HIV. But you need to put in other things in the school space to make it real for girls. So we want to make the school space violence-free. So purge out the violence. We need to make it a place where there's access to comprehensive sexuality education, as Minister Fire has said. We need the fulfillment of sexual and reproductive health and rights and access to the services that are appropriate and that girls and young women need. And we need to have girls have opportunities for successful school to work transitions, to learn skills that will lead them to be productive and to be able to have bodily autonomy. That is what the initiative is about. Political leadership of African leaders through the African Union, where they unite and make collective commitments. We need the smart investments in the budgets. We need adolescent girls and young women speaking and demanding for themselves. And we need to enlist our development partners to support. That's why I'm so happy that Alice Albright is here with us as a leader of an institution that supports low-income countries to provide the right to education to all children, and others. The World Bank is here. So we want to bring all partners together to make it happen for our girls. This is the time. So the initiative is about keeping girls, getting girls into secondary school, keeping them there, to reduce their risk to HIV, to reduce early marriages, to reduce teenage pregnancies, and to make gains, multiple other gains, social and economic gains that come from an empowered girl, an empowered young woman. This is the year of generation equality. This is my last point. 25 years after Beijing, the Fourth World Conference on Women. I'm not a young girl anymore. Let me say, a mature woman. 60 years ago, I was a young girl, and my mother, who was a primary school teacher, was leading her village women's club. In this club, I saw our mothers, the village women. My mother was teaching them to read and write as adults because they had not been to school. At the same time, they were meeting every week and they were fighting on two issues, our mothers. One was to get the girls into school, primary school, because the first schools at independence were for boys. They were fighting that girls also get in school. Two, they were fighting that their girls are not married off early. They were against early marriage. In my home, little girls were hidden there by mothers as the group negotiated with fathers not to let the girl get married at an early age, not to take a dowry when she's still young. This is 60 years later. It isn't right. It is very urgent that this struggle ends, that every girl knows she has a right to start school and complete high school, and our countries can do it with the support of the partners. I'm here because I care deeply that the struggles of our mothers, which put me here, I'm here. And when you see these African women in global spaces, we are there because our mothers fought to get us into school. We must fight to end that battle, that it becomes a right for every girl to stay in school up to the end of high school. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. Let's join hands and make this happen.